How's it going, YouTube? It is Mike2K here with episode number 3 of the Start Today Bulls rebuild. So today we are actually going to go through the entire regular season, and we will stop at the playoff mark and kind of go over some things. We are actually going to also stop in the middle at the trade deadline, because if we are not making the playoffs or really contending for a playoff spot, I plan on trading Jimmy Butler and kind of doing what the Bulls were contemplating doing this past season as far as moving on from Jimmy and building around young talent. But if we are in playoff contention, we'll pretty much leave the team alone and kind of just see how the team goes. So for right now, we're starting off the season against the Rockets. We are actually doing fairly well to start the season. Kind of surprised by this. We're not really going to accept very many trades, mainly because I want team chemistry to improve first and foremost before we really start tinkering with trades, as we were in the 60s for chemistry. We're actually starting off pretty well, and of course Jimmy has to get injured. But hopefully with the depth that we have, we will actually be able to succeed. I'm not really going to deal with the whole scouting thing, as it seems like we're going to do fairly well by the start this year. So I'm actually going to just let the computer do that, and if we need to trade up, we'll trade up. But so far, somehow, we are actually first in the Eastern Conference. Not quite sure exactly how that's going. But while this is simming through, I actually wanted to give you guys a little bit of a spiel on the finals. I'm quite excited for the finals. Kind of was bored by the whole regular season and just the hoopla that came with it. Really looking forward to this. Hope it's a 7-game series. Hope it's close. Don't really want a bunch of what it was last year of a blowout one way, a blowout the other way. Really want like that close final, like type game 7 type of situation where honestly it's really close. Not really been a big LeBron fan for a while, but I mean I understand why he left and why he came back and all that. Still, I am from the 309 as is Shaun Livingston, which means that kind of gives me the edge to Golden State. Honestly, hope it's a 7-game series, but I expect it to probably be a 6-game series, maybe 7, but somewhere between 5 or 6 is my expectation with Golden State. They just have too much star power. Honestly, if you think about the matchups, you will probably have more than likely Kyrie guarding Curry. You'll have LeBron guarding Durant. You'll have Kevin Love on Draymond Green. So that just leaves probably J.R. Smith on Klay Thompson, and I just feel like that's kind of an advantage Golden State. Also the same way as far as their defense, I feel they'll just have the advantage with Kevin Durant being there. It limits the amount of minutes Andre Iguodala has to play as far as guarding LeBron James, which I feel is a serious advantage, because then that gives Andre Iguodala a chance to come off the bench and really do kind of that role that he did that first championship of just being a defensive guy and a glue guy for the bench, along with Shaun Livingston providing that veteran experience for them off the bench. I feel their bench is worse than Cleveland's, yet I just feel that star power of having those 4 primarily dominant players, and you have 4 people that can bring the ball up the floor, which I feel like will really help. Now back to the sim. Seeing that we are somehow 6 games up and first in the East, I've made a decision. We're more than likely not going to trade Jimmy. I'm kind of just going to look at the team real quick just to see. And we're also kind of look at some stats halfway through, as Jimmy is going 21, 6, and 7. Not doing too bad. Pretty good as far as leading the team, as he should be. And then you've got Dwayne Wade, who's having an okay year. He's injured at the moment, so I don't really expect much. But not really seeing anything too exciting, especially in the rebounding department. Not really seeing a whole lot, especially Bobby Portis. Bobby Portis really seems to be underperforming, as he's only at 8 and 7. I mean, I kind of expect it since him and Beasley are fighting for minutes, but I'm not seeing Lopez anywhere, which is quite concerning on rebounds. And I understand McGee because he's starting, so that's why. But Lopez somehow is only averaging 4 rebounds a game, which quite frankly is just extremely unacceptable for the contract he's being paid, which means he more than likely will be traded in the offseason, if anything. And contract extensions, we don't have anything, so we, as I said earlier, are going to go ahead and go all the way through the season just to kind of see where we end up, and we'll look at some player stats throughout the year and kind of just go through the awards and everything and see exactly how everything turns out. So now we're actually going to go back to not only the finals, but I actually want to discuss a little bit of the actual real-life Bulls offseason. I feel that, I mean, I guess you guys could keep Jimmy. I understand he's on that nice deal. He's only getting paid about 17, 18 million a year. I understand you want to keep that for salary reasons. The catch is with that is if we keep Jimmy, I feel Wade will opt in with his player option, which is still a pretty decent chunk of change. And if you do that, also Rondo's probably we'll bring Rondo back just to teach young guards at this point. I feel like he can really groom them into what we need. And I honestly feel we should probably draft a guard basically as the quote-unquote heir apparent for Rondo. I'm not quite sure exactly who we'll get as late as we are in the draft, unfortunately. I really wish there was a way we could somehow sign and trade Mirotic, unfortunately, which can't happen, to move up, because I really would like a De'Aaron Fox. Would be really nice. And now for the awards, MVP is to Durant. He had a phenomenal season, and actually he was with the Clippers, so that team is just downright disgusting, because it's Durant with Chris Paul. You got Lonzo Ball Rookie of the Year because Lonzo Ball is overpowered in 2K, which is just stupid. But he had a pretty good year, 21, 8, and 8. Still a pretty good year. Tyreke Evans out here averaging 15 and 7, which I feel is just pretty good. He always seems to get 6th man of the year. I don't know why. He's on Utah. So, I mean, it makes sense as to why he get it. Andre Drummond, Defensive Player of the Year. Going purely stats-wise, Durant had better stats, but it's whatever. CJ McCollum gets your Most Improved, well-deserved. And Doc Rivers is Coach of the Year. Probably won't make it out of the first round then, right? Maybe second round. But, alright, so anyhow, here is the All-NBA first teams. You got Lillard, DeRozan, Durant, LeBron, of course, and Jokic, the Joker. One of the more exciting, promising players. Excited to see how he turns out. Now, for the second team, you got Conley, Ball, Giannis, and then a couple other guys. Third team, we actually had Jimmy Butler make the third team, which is quite impressive. However, though, as I'm noticing, he did not make a defensive team. Kind of offended by that, and realized we didn't really have rookies play any minutes, as Hammonds really was kind of on the bench. Alright, so we're going to go through go through the conference standings. We actually beat Cleveland out by 3 games, which is really nice because we won't have to face them until the Eastern Conference Finals. Washington and Toronto, and then Milwaukee, Boston, Indy, and Charlotte got the other spots. Clippers just dominated the West, up by 6. And actually, ironically enough, Golden State didn't make the playoffs. Don't quite know exactly how that happened, but I think it's mainly because LA made the playoffs out of nowhere, so that's kind of probably why. Alright, so for player stats for the year, Jimmy, of course, averaged 21, 6, and 7, being a stud. As usual, Dwayne Wade averaged 15, 4, and 5. And then, obviously, the rest of the team kind of just filled in their spots as needed. Really wish we would have had somebody else to do the scoring. I do appreciate the fact that Grant averaged 8 points a game. It's quite nice to see out of the potential future point guard, depending on who we draft and everything this year. Still would like to see exactly what we're going to do with him. Not quite sure. He might end up being the backup next year, depending on exactly who we get. So your league leaders this year, DeRozan led the league in scoring with 28 a game. And then you've got Durant, Leonard, Curry, the usual group. So that was it for that. And we're going to kind of just look at the mock draft. I forgot we actually have the Kings pick, which is really, really, really nice, because that gets us a top 10 pick. So we might actually be able to grab a point guard or possibly a center and trade Lopez. I honestly might trade Lopez and then move up in the draft if we can. So this is kind of just setting the rotation for the playoffs. I am actually going to end up running a really deep rotation, mainly just because we can. However, though, I'm realizing we have way too many centers and not enough guards in the second unit. And also, so we're actually going to start by giving out a little bit of minutes to Deron Williams. But I've noticed that our young guys really aren't getting as many minutes as I would like, mainly because I want them to get some playoff experience for when we move on past everybody else and they eventually become the solid role players or potentially starters, depending on how they progress. So we're going to give Zipser and Valentine some minutes. And we are actually going to go grab Hammonds and throw him in the starting lineup here in a minute. Or not starting lineup, but the bench unit. As he just needs some minutes at this point, honestly. Because you can't have your backup point guard of the future, or starting point guard of the future, depending on, again, how he progresses, with the no minutes. Because he honestly needs minutes in order to truly be seen as a potential player. That would really honestly help our case. Otherwise, our future big three is going to have no minutes. And we are going to leave Deron Williams some minutes, mainly just to groom the younger guys and kind of be that backup floor general for Grant, who, again, is still fairly young, and I'd like to see him progress. So that's going to be it. Thank you guys for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe, and I will come out with Episode 4, which will be the playoffs, and see how far we go, and then we will begin the offseason, probably Episode 5. See you guys later, and peace.